Mhm.
Oh my goodness. So Monica and I have been talking in the back end. I know, right before I hit record, and I cannot wait to share her spirit with you. And never mind all the knowledge and all of the ancient knowledge she holds within her soul and awareness, but also to just her energy. And I love this woman, and I am so grateful that I got to meet her a couple years ago, and we got connected through a very pragmatic experience that led us onto this very pathway together.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? And it was so funny how a lot of us came together through that experience, right? And over the
Yeah,
years, it's been a couple years now since we've been connected, which is so
yeah,
cool
it's
to think.
amazing.
Yeah, like it's been that long, right? Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
tell, I obviously I did an intro for you already, but just tell everybody whatever's on your heart right now to share about some of the experiences or whatever's coming up for you right now. I'm just going to let you lead.
Oh, thank you so much, first of all, for having me on your podcast. And just want to say I love you too. And I am so grateful to have connected with you 2 years ago out of, the strangest place, right? That one could connect from a spiritual side. Like we both are like super like out there in outer space and like into the
Yeah.
cosmo and type thing that you rolled with my talk, like all this stuff. You rolled with it and you're like, cool. Like and I
Yeah.
love that, that you were so open to like receiving it and just, acknowledging it. And I love that, connection that we have. And, just talk about a brief, life story about myself is that when I speak light language now, but how I went into that was like a long path before I realized, that this was something that I was going to be doing as a business. And actually, like, I wasn't even looking for it to be as a business or anything like that, or even thought that I would be speaking the light language. I didn't really desire it either. It's just kind of weird. I would hear like, when I first started hearing other people, speak it, I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, very strange.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then when I started to feel the effects of it, I was like, oh wow, this stuff is powerful. I love this.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to get more of this because at the time I was just had gone through my divorce and I had just like I felt like I was really done with like everything on this earth because I had accomplished so much from a career, from like anything else except for like relationships with, bad failures,
Yeah.
choices,
Yeah. Totally get
but
it.
still I thought, well, maybe I'm done, and this is it.
Yeah.
And but really what was done was just completing a cycle that I had just completed. This other karmic cycle was that in relationships and also from like things that I had worked on in my career and my other mystical studies, because behind the scenes I always did my mystical studies. And then um but as a career, it wasn't like a spiritual business. It wasn't anything about mysticism. But I still had these things, like it was like a closet mystic.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a
I didn't
closet
really, I
spiritual
didn't
person
openly
too.
talk to a lot of people about it. It was just like my closest friends or people who I knew who were part of it as well. Um, but even like amongst that group of my closest friends, there were just maybe like a couple that I would share like stuff that was even beyond that study.
Yeah. I get it.
And so
Hmm.
when I like was going through like this pattern of things that I really wanted to just get rid of because I was sick and tired of realizing that I had these bad choices with relationships and I just wanted to be done with these patterns, whatever it was, whether it be like self-worth issues, or like
Yeah.
self-esteem. And I just noticed this in my family as well, that they had these same patterns. And I thought this must be generational too. And so I said, I'm going to work on all of it, ancestral, past life. I don't care. So, and seeing like light language was like the much fastest at the time, that I was
Mhm.
like working with. And I had done so much of that, through like clearing that it just activated the light language inside of me. And it was, through working with like um, the Egyptian god Thoth. And
Mhm.
so um, when I started speaking it, of course, I thought that it wasn't real. I was in my own doubts.
Yeah.
I didn't really, because I didn't even have like a mentor, anybody to talk to. Like, I don't have like anybody I could go to and can I set up private sessions with you? Like, the person who was doing it at the time didn't even have that, you know? And so I thought, I
That
wish
wasn't
I
a
had like,
thing.
you know, it wasn't a thing. And so it's just like you just get activated and you figure it out on your own. And
Yeah.
so that's pretty much what happened to me. And so like it took me a while to like finally realize. And it was I think when I went to like Bosnia that I realized that when I stepped foot right in the pyramid of the dragons, which is like a recently found pyramid in Bosnia.
Hmm.
And, you know, of course, there's a lot of controversy there with the pyramids and what the archaeologists are saying that they're finding. And so there's been friction with the
Mm.
archaeologists in Egypt about the Bosnian pyramids and all this other stuff. But when you go there, you'll see it's real. So
Yeah.
there's no doubt about the energies there. And so as I remember setting foot on the pyramid for the dragons, and I had been with a group actually of like 22 people decided to go together, just a very small. And the convention that was there was a total of 80. So out of those 80, 22 of us decided were called to go to that dragon pyramid, as you say. Right. And so when we all stood at the base of it and we formed this circle, they some of the members there were speaking light language, didn't mind speaking it publicly, but I was at this point, I was kind of speaking it, but it was more private and I didn't know what, you know, I was a little bit reserved because I was still in my doubts. I didn't even know if it was real, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when I heard them speak, I suddenly felt this remembrance, and then I felt like the dragon energy inside of me like remember that this is like a dragon language that you're speaking.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so in that, you know, that's when it got really polished when I was there. And when we made it to the tip of that pyramid, which was like a smaller group than the 22 that made it to the top that felt called there, that's where we all received like this initiation in the and it was a lyre dragon actually that came down
Mm.
or astrally projected itself
Yeah. Yeah.
you know over to us, and we were all like pulled into like inner earth and like received all these like archives of books of knowledge,
Interesting.
like it just came in through like um you know like through our cells, you know, or like how is it like astrally
Like
information,
it got
like you know,
downloaded into you. Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah, like the Matrix, I guess.
Yeah.
And so
Welcome. I know.
so I'm like looking at all this stuff right in my because we're all in this meditation, but I'm seeing all of this stuff. And I thought, well, am I really seeing this right? And then when we all got out of the meditation, there was this lady there and she described everything what I had just seen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, awesome. It's the same thing.
Perfect.
It's like
So funny. Oh my gosh. And I love this experience. So continue. I don't know if there's anything else to it because I want to ask you a couple questions.
oh yeah, no, I mean that's when, you know, I started speaking the language, it did take me like many years before I could even launch as a business.
Mhm.
Because again, I was still like in this like a bit of, you know, some of the things that I had to clean up in myself was my doubts. So I had to build my confidence in
Yeah.
the speaking of it and, you know, just know that this is really what's happening. Just trust myself. So I really worked a lot on my heart. So I do have like a lot of emphasis on the heart
Mhm.
and because of this reason. And I feel like because right now the collective, you know, is going through so much that that's why the heart is so important that we work on that first. Otherwise, we'll be operating from a wounded state.
Mm. Well, and also too, the soul and our mission reside in our heart, right? So it's that
Hmm.
connection to the purity of
Yes,
ourselves.
it's a gateway.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I'm not surprised that it's one of the imperative parts that you work within to start to open up this in people. And I'd love to find out from you, like for those that don't know light language or they have no like connection to it, how would you describe it to these people so they have an understanding?
So they are unique sounds that are produced through our vocal cords, right? But they all work through the chakras. That's the way the cosmic masters have explained it to me, is that it works through all the chakras.
Mhm.
So the light frequency that comes out as sound, as vibrational, different types of frequency,
Mhm.
that is like unique to each person who channels it. And they could be channeling, you know, the different beings of, you know, light
Mhm.
of the different star systems that they may remember that they come from, like these other star planets, and they all speak a form of light language as well. Um, and in most cases, they're having conversations in light language.
Yeah.
And some of the names that I've heard, like I have a friend who remembers that she saw an angel and asked the angel what the name was, and it said like this really long sentence, but it was really light language. So it was like,
So cool.
so, so I've noticed that like with angelic, frequency of light language is a much higher pitch of energy, like
Mm.
faster pace.
Yeah. And it's like it
So
requires you to be tapped in, like, and
mhm,
really like almost surrendered into that space to be able to channel it and trust it, like you
yeah,
said.
exactly. Yes, and there's everybody who channels a light language is going to be different. In most cases, if you like sing it or chant it, it's about like soothing. It could be activating or triggering, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, because activation and trigger are the same thing to me.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah, totally. Because whenever I get triggered, I'm like, okay, what do I need to work on right now? Something is
Yeah,
coming through next
it's your
level.
own activation.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, serious. I totally agree with you about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting when we first met, a couple years ago, and you said to me about light language, I had no clue, no reference point at all to
Hmm.
any of this. Like, and I've been through my fair share of awakening, but we all have different places, parts of us that have certain missions here on earth, right? And until I met you, I had no clue what this light language thing was, but you're like, do you want to do a session with me and I can show you? And I was like, yeah. So like I'm all in, right? So I'm like this naive
Hmm.
little like, thinking I know something about something. And I'm sitting in this session and then Monica all of a sudden starts to channel this dragon light language. And I was like, what is this? Right. So like she was speaking dragon and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so like I at first I was like, this is like my real sense of it. At first I was like, what do I do? Oh, just drop in and just be present. Like, like just allow whatever to happen because my pragmatic mind
That's
was
exactly right. Hmm.
going, oh my God, this is crazy. But I knew something that was shifting because I always lead in this energy of like we are being called and drawn to our next levels through different, guides
Hmm.
and mentors and practitioners. So when this landed on my space, I was like, this has got to be something, like and I had no idea what it was. And literally I'd bring it to my friends and be like, you need to listen to this. And I'd be like, this is dragon. And they'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm like, I know, right? And they're like, but I wouldn't be able to hear that for very long because it obviously wasn't channeled for them either. It was in what you were channeling that I needed in that potency of
Hmm.
energy. But what a cool experience. And then from there, I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do now? Like, and I'm sure you've
I
seen
love
this
that.
transition through your people, right?
Yeah, many times. And now, I mean, the way the energies are coming in is much more different. It's almost like they literally almost get blown away. It takes,
Yeah.
I mean, like take like a few months maybe to recover, and then I'll hear from them like maybe another 2 months. Like, oh, there you are. I'm so glad you're you're okay. Whatever cave you went into to
Yeah,
like,
seriously. Well, and it's just like
integrate the
everything.
energies. Like,
Yeah. And it's so funny. As I took one of Monica's programs last year, that literally opened up my light language to be able to
hmm.
speak it and honor it and move through it. And I just listened to the root chakra yesterday again. So
Hmm.
I dove back into that space. And what light language does in the context of it is like Monica said, massive clearings can happen, massive shiftings of energy, massive movement in the quantum energetic field. Like we can't even consciously comprehend what is happening in our fields when we drop into a session in light language or we use the light language in work that we do.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you've seen this over and over again, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the way I look at light language is almost like this programming code, also like software code. If anybody is aware of like what that means.
Yeah.
It's like you can think of like a computer, right? You have your computer, it's the hardware,
Yeah.
right? And in the background, you have the software that's running, and the way that software was designed was through different type of programming codes, that they call software coders and stuff.
Yeah.
So I like to think of light language similar to that software code,
Mm.
where it's molding the type of software application and the abilities that you have inside of you as a human is, receiving these light codes. And the light codes themselves are, molding and shifting your multidimensional DNA, within your cells
Yep.
to release these old patterns to activate the abilities that have been like hidden, that they've always been there. It's just that they've been kind of buried, like for example, like in doubt or,
Yeah.
the fear of something. And so once that gets, you know, dissolved or alchemized, because my light language has been described as being alchemical,
Mhm.
um, almost like a magician type, dust type of energy, like,
Yeah, I believe you.
and it could go in like a different layers of like the patterns, and so that shifts that multidimensional DNA, and it could shift, and it could manifest itself into like uncomfortable ways sometimes, and but it'll go away a lot faster than it would have like if you were to do it like traditional way of just sitting with it for like years like I did,
Yeah.
and what now, like with the earth energy moving a much faster pulsating energy of frequency,
Yeah.
that it is supporting this as well to for us to move faster into the next level of our existence here on earth, and how we are to express our abilities through our own uniqueness that we have, like so I like to think of it as being equivalent to like our own superpowers, and
Yeah.
so I can see this, for the new earth. I have these vision, or I envision the future of this earth, which, it's almost like bringing it into this present moment, that I see everybody just having their own light language that they're speaking. Everybody's just like all our other star galactic families where we come from, our origins. Earth is also going to be another planet where you speak light language as normal to understand one another. And even the children who are born now, they will already come equipped with
Yeah.
this, like they don't, most of them probably don't even come with most of the patterns that we have, as humans who have lived here on this earth for like eons, waiting for this time frame to occur, or this age of period to occur. That's why we're here, because we kept incarnating, holding these energies and waiting for this big shift to happen, of this great awakening that we're all in the midst of right now. And jumping into some of the collective energy, where we are right now in 2023, and what I keep hearing over and over again is, um, we are in the thick of it,
We are.
of
Yeah.
this big transitional state of that will shift an even greater awakening to so many other people. And the awakening is this huge expansion of consciousness, right? Because our consciousness is always expanding. And the more that we are expanding, the more that we are connecting to our galactic universal self, of our own higher self, into the divine source,
Mhm.
um, and God of our heart, however we want to express that. But you say source connection, divine.
Yeah.
And that's where you gain your own independence, independent love, as I call it.
I love that.
And where you don't have to depend on others' loves, but you already have your own love. You see, you already carry your own love, and it all like in the heart is that gateway. And that's been like one of my big, I guess, cornerstone, a corner, stone of like of my business, is
Mhm.
that I always emphasize the heart as being the first place to start with, because it is a big, powerful gateway, center hub
Mhm. Yep.
of like our source connection and our inner wisdom, our deepest, you know, akashic records,
Yep.
access to our soul, which is all connected to the soul, as you said earlier. And so yeah, this is where it also brings in the remembrance of who we really are, you know?
Mm.
We're just more than this physical form that you see with your own physical eyes.
Yeah.
But when you look here, your third eye, you'll see beyond, so much. And you bring in the heart, bring it all online, you'll bring all of yourself online.
Mhm.
And so that's the way, I see it. So
And I love that you brought that up. It's been an interesting transition to watch Earth shifting. And although
hmm
I'm a human in this experience, I I've done so much, unveiling work, let's say, that I've pulled the layers of distortion out of my fields, and I'm consistently working within that. And you've played a pivotal role in my life over the last few years, just helping to assist in all the ways that we're connected to. But it's almost like I can see it shifting, and people are coming to me now going, what do you predict? And I'm like, it's not really a prediction. It's like we're getting back into the truth of who we really are, like being
hmm
able to telepathically communicate, or being
hmm
able to connect into this light language, or shift things in real time, because of the fact that we set an energetic intention and we can move that easily when we feel that. It's that we've been conformed in this distortion for a long time and purposefully calcified, our pineal glands and our like third eyes with a lot of the denseness on earth, so that
hmm
we
Yes.
didn't remember this. But
hmm
the skill set you bring to the earth and your mission here, with one small piece of light language, you've got all these other dynamics that you're really leaning into to serve the collective. It's amazing to see what happens when we own our gifts and we step in full heartedly to them to share them into the world. And how many, like, because you describe us as avatars, which makes a lot of sense in my MO, and it feels right in my energetic field to like own that. Your
Good.
your mission is activating the avatars so that we can go out
Yes.
and be activated, right? So it's really cool to like
Yes.
hear you talk about this, and I'd love for you to touch on that, because I think it's an important piece of this next level of expansion for a lot of us. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate everything that you just shared. So the avatar, it feels everybody has the ability to do this, right? Um, and the avatar state is like this mastership of learning, knowing. It's this knowingness within to be able to balance yourself, and that's the shadow and the light
mhm,
that we all carry. Okay,
mhm.
because the shadow is the catalyst to us for us to be in the light, or light is a catalyst also for the shadow. So
Love
there
it.
is this equal balance of each other, and one cannot exist without the other, the way I see it,
Yep.
especially the way, I would say most of the universe. And so Avatar, I would say, is like this mastership. It's equivalent to like the cosmic master type of energy, and it's being in this ascended state of having that mastership. And so with the avatar state, they have their heart together. It's
Mhm,
completely in its whole, and they know that that is the gateway, and that it will bring everything else online. It is the balancing point,
mhm,
for your body. It's like your inner sanctum of like, if you were to look at a temple, for example, you would see the temple has a location that they call their heart, right? And usually that's like the center, and in some temples they'll call it Shekinah. And so, Shekinah is like the wife of God, supposedly in Kabbalah, right? Or like,
mhm,
and so if you think about it, that's like the heart is like this alchemical wedding that is occurring within it itself. When you bring the divine masculine, divine feminine energies in union, or this twin flame union, and you solidify that foundation, and that solidity is through the confidence and trust that you put into it. It's a constant, continuous thing. And so that's where I feel like we are gaining this momentum for this avatar. And that's why that is one of my biggest mission, is to facilitate um everybody. I want to say, like, they want me to say everybody, but it's like I'm kind of like my human side's like giving everybody, like they're like, no, say everybody.
We gotta love it when the downloads come in like this, right? Are you sure?
Right.
Like, is that the right
Right.
word?
And
Yes.
I was like, okay, whatever, I'll say it, to help with like gaining this avatar state. And
Mhm.
And that is through the light language and through other ways. And the other way is because, I recently have been remembering, say
Yes.
part of me is remembering that I've been encoded with like these special energies of recreation
Mm,
of the way the human blueprint is. So it's like a new human blueprint of recreation in all of us,
mm,
which is the next level of the avatar state in our own physical bodies. That's how we exist here on this earth, which is very unprecedented for like any, the way things have been taught through, like the way I've studied some of the mysticism in most cases, that in order to gain this higher um, initiation, let's just say final initiation of like this greater ascended self is through death,
yeah.
through the transition, right? Literally transition, like, out of your physical body, right? Um, and, in some cases that's still true, but what this new wave of humans that we are here on this earth, that we still keep our physical bodies in this ascension
Mm,
and still be in that avatar state. And and I've been working a lot actually with a lot of the avatars, but they've been like this divine or the feminine avatars, let's just say. And the feminine avatars are like really strong, powerful, and one of them is like Joan of Arc, who, happens to be one of my ancestrals, related, through some family soul lineage,
I'm not
as they
surprised.
start galactic,
Yeah.
family and stuff. So I know she's been like a huge influence on some of the things that I've been doing, or, having more confidence in the work that I do as well. So when I start to waver, I hear her.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
like,
you do.
I feel like the strength come in, like, okay. So she has like this energy, right? Like she's very like this strong feminine energy, right? But she also has this Archangel Michael energy to her,
Mm,
like
not
no
surprised.
BS type energy. Like
Yeah, not surprised at all.
yeah, so like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so amazing. And I love this conversation because um it's so fun. And I think we have talked about this in the past, but I'm at the point in my life where I'm not like I want to have kids and I'm not like I don't want to have kids. Like when I meet the man and if he's in for my standards, meaning like I'm not just going to be a stay-at-home mom, like I need independence and I need to be able to still be me and do the work I'm meant to serve in. Like I can't
Right, of
just,
course.
I
Yeah.
can't just be a stay-at-home mom. Then we can have this conversation about children. But it's like a month and a half ago, around that time, it dropped in and they're like, you are birthing two kids into the world. And I was like, for real? Like, I thought this was going to be like an option, like I thought this, and they're like, no, because the codes they're bringing in, like me as a mother and a guide, are needed to accelerate those codes so they can step in. And
Hmm.
I see me speaking light language with them and me bringing it out in
Hmm.
them when they're first born and honoring that and
Hmm.
telepathically communicating and really like activating who they are and having them step into that like divine love, like and like almost like an initiation in its own right. And I've
Hmm.
been chosen as the conduit for these
Hmm.
two souls, one male and one female, to come in,
Hmm.
because there's a certain imprint that they're meant to bring that
Hmm.
I can help them whatever do.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun how you mentioned that about the avatar states and the new energy moving in and the children coming with new patterns that are not, and I'm not surprised because we are literally
Hmm.
dismantling all of the patterns in the world right now. So
Yes.
they're coming in not knowing them because most of them probably haven't incarnated
Hmm.
on earth before. Like they're coming in from a whole other
We're
galactic
paving the way
system.
for them.
Yeah, to be
We're
able to
we are
drop
paving the
in.
way for them. These new children who are going to be born,
Yeah.
they're already going to come without these patterns, and so
Mm,
they're going to come in with their abilities already like activated.
yeah.
Like speaking like language would be like a normal thing for them. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I definitely believe everything that you're saying. That it definitely resonates with a lot of the information that I've been like feeling and channeling.
Yeah.
About this new Earth and how it's going to look and the timeline, and then also like holding that timeline, because it's also important for us who are listening to this that we hold on to that visual and that timeline as well. Because, timelines can shift
Hmm.
at any moment, but, so we look at the ones that are at the highest probability and the highest frequency of energy, right? That has the highest outcome
Yeah.
of it coming to fruition. And how it gets determined is through the collective as well.
Hmm.
Because the more of us that come online in the collective field and actually intentionally put it out there, with these higher visuals of energies and focus on that, without so much putting all the fear, then, and hold it, like in this nurturing and loving state, it has the highest outcome of it manifesting and becoming its own, reality in our physical reality that we're in right now.
Yes.
you know,
And I so like I vibrate with you, and for some reason I was supposed to be holding my selenite one today. I don't know why, but I'm just vibing over here with my selenite. I
Love
vibe
it.
with you about this, Monica. Like, and although we float in different ethers, because you are like dimensional, way out in the ether sometimes, gathering info, getting your codings, bringing it back to Earth, transmitting it into the human form, and serving it on a platter into the human experience,
Yeah.
where I ground more in the earth experience, pulling in, the ancestral knowledge of like the ascended masters who I work with, like a lot of Sophia Code's like ascended masters
Hmm.
in her book or in her energy. I work a lot with in that divinity, but I've just been recently now moving into more feminine mystics, which is super interesting to see how those women are dropping in from different lifetimes and different ethers, almost it feels like. But we always come back together and weave in the same truth. So it's like
Hmm.
you're grabbing it from a different dimension and I'm pulling it from a different space. But whenever we talk, it's always in the same vibration of truth. Like we're all like it's like
Yes.
we're vibing in two separate
Hmm.
neurons or like whatever it is we're doing, but it's the same
But they come in
frequency.
unity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this celebration of like being in that same frequency of truth.
Mhm. And that's why this whole podcast came about, because there's so many more people out there that are feeling this, have no idea where to go, and there
Hmm.
is people talking about it, but there's a movement also within our field of souls we're supposed to serve that are
Hmm.
desiring asking questions, that will find this podcast whenever it's aligned in their timeline. And our
Hmm.
job as avatars, as ordained ascended masters, as priestesses like you've been initiated into and own that title, is to literally speak and to keep speaking and to keep moving the energy
Hmm.
and to keep serving in our mission, which is everybody's technical mission. But most people are still scared. They have their doubts and all the distortion in
Hmm.
their fields that they've been working within, that I know both of us have been through our own fair share of movement in
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all just keep moving. There'll be like different layers, but it's just a matter of holding on to that inner strength, that you the trust and that confidence and eventually surrender to that what is,
Yeah.
happening in that moment. Like what I was telling you when I injured my leg, I just pretty much surrendered to like the moment that I needed to just stop for a bit and like rested because it was going through some kind of integration and reset. And even though I was like, go, 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 like do all these things, and I was just really like paving, ahead and like oh locomotives, like going my little quantum speed over here, and then my legs like
I'm on my train, I'm making it move, I love it. Boom, let's whack her, let's take it out,
like literally throwing a monkey wrench or something in there,
Yeah, I definitely have had my fair share of these experiences in my world, and as I continue to grow. But the key piece, I think, to what you just said is that surrendering. And I think that it's, as humans, it's one of the, like, at least for me, it was the hardest one to lean into. And
Yeah.
now I'm just like, dude, I wouldn't do anything without surrendering first, because I
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in that moment of surrendering that you'll get the insight on a much deeper
Mhm.
information on your next steps.
Yeah.
because in that moment of silence and rest, it's almost like a void,
Mhm.
of the nothingness that is something and everything.
Yep.
And that is like the birthing of something new that is sparking itself within that void,
Mm.
of that
So beautiful.
surrender.
Yeah. So beautiful. I keep seeing dates as you keep talking, and I'm just remembering. So we started the your Kundalini program in May of last year, and the reason why I know that is because I literally did the root chakra yesterday, where it said May
Mhm.
2022, and I remember in September was when I did my first circle with Sophia Code's Ascended Masters, where I led with Isis. And then I also taught or guided.
Yeah, I remember that. That was powerful because I remember sitting in one of your circles.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
believe it was like
Hathor?
Isis. Yeah.
Was it Isis or Hathor?
No, I think it was Isis. And I
Yeah.
remember like I saw like this very bright colored flower. Like I think she was doing something um with the solar plexus. Was that
Mm.
Isis,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Personal power.
And
Yeah.
and I saw like because I think in the meditation the circle said look for like see the flower that comes up for you.
Yeah.
And I clearly saw the flower that came up for me. And I was
Of
like,
course you
wow,
did.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. And I remember actually, I remember you saying, because I at one point her power was coming in so high in frequency
Yeah.
that I said to people, if it's too much, imagine a dial and turn it down. And you were like, no, man, I was cranking it up. Like you're just like sitting there transmission, like with
Yes,
ISIS
but
going,
that's how I am. It's like
yeah, you
I look for like really high intense energy transmission because my energy is so intense already.
know.
It's almost like I like to equate it to like coffee, right? For those who drink coffee, like you look for like the really strong kind of coffee, right?
Yeah.
For caffeine or strong caffeine. So people will go to Turkish coffee, right? So that's what like for me transmissions feels like. I want to get the Turkish coffee like, really strong. Like
Well, and I remember you saying that to me, and I was laughing because I had like out of all the people that I serve, it would be you that would be turning it up, right? Or like Tanya goes astro traveling like way up in the ethers, and I had to like, Tanya, are you still
oh,
there? Come on back,
oh,
right?
I was worried about her too. She like I don't know where she went. Like she was really out of it. I think in
I
one of the
know.
transmissions. I was like, hope she's okay.
Oh my gosh. But that same month that I did that, I led the 12 Veils of Illusion program, which was a 13-week program. And Hathor and Archangel Michael led that program. But every week she had me channeling light language. And I remember the first time I did it, I was so scared, Monica, but I knew that I had to step in and express it. And I knew it was coming through me for a reason. And just like you said to me, and you've said in the past too, like with your own experience, you doubted that it was real. And then it was really funny.
Mm.
So after like that first week, I was like, so did anybody feel anything? Like I'm like, I don't, did anybody pick up on anything? Did anything happen for any of you? Okay. Like, and everyone's like, oh my God, that was amazing. I was like, I wonder if they actually know what happened. Like,
Yes. Well, that's
like,
how I was too in the beginning, where it's like I was like, are they making this up?
yeah, I know. All of it. And I have like ability to speak snake. So I like have apostle tongue, like
Oh, I love
light
that.
language.
That's
And
right.
then
That's right. The
I
Harry
also,
Potter snake. Like,
yeah, I know, like I am. I even attract them. There was one in my house a couple like months ago,
wow.
and I was like, holy fuck, that's a snake. And like I live in Costa Rica, like snakes are not like just gardener snakes or whatever they're called. Like they're like most of them are poisonous here. So I was like, there's a fucking snake in my house,
Mm.
like
Have
this.
you have you heard the stories though about snakes?
No, tell
Oh,
me.
the history of like the earth and stuff. Like,
No,
they're in like very, very ancient times, maybe like around the time of Lemuria and Atlantis
of
and all
course.
that,
Yeah.
ancient civilizations. Snake people, as they were called, had actually inhabited on the earth, and they were very wise. They were, good beings, and they taught a lot of like these ancient civilizations a lot of their knowledge.
Mm,
And I feel like a lot of them were like in that region of like China and Tibet,
mm,
because you see a lot of these pictures, right? And they talk about all these legends So it makes you wonder, is it, there's truth to some of these legends. And so um they brought in all this wisdom, but I think they had been like kind of, I don't know, backstabbed or something like that, at some
Mm,
point. And so now, like they remain as like when we see like in most cases the animals, they are kind of like this projection of these other beings, that are like
mm,
snake people. And so I imagine like with you, like speaking the snake language, that you have some of this connection with the snake people
sure I do.
of, and it would make sense because you do a lot of work with the Akashic records, and I feel like, they carried a lot of this knowledge with them
Yeah.
that they taught, many of us to do, that we carry, I feel like we carry a lot of this also within ourselves, and some of them who feel connected to like the snakes. I'm one of them because I actually, it's not that I'm gonna go look for a snake and go hug it or anything like that. So that's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is like, this connection with, like the snakes, you know, even though I wouldn't get near it if I saw one, I'll probably go the other way.
Yeah.
But I'm also not gonna like kill or sympathize with it, or something.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that there is definitely something very powerful and magical about them.
Yeah.
And so when I heard about the story about the snake people, I realized like, oh, well, that would make sense why I feel this connection with them. It's like they bring in some of this like knowledge, and the snake that we see now is kind of like a representation of that remembrance,
Mm,
and so maybe that's why they get drawn to you because you probably carry a lot more of the snake people like um
mm.
knowledge and stuff within yourself, that it's being activated, and the snakes are like connecting with you in that way, and you're speaking their language, in their own light
Well,
language connection, and like
well, and it's so funny. Last week, literally last week, I went and hiked the tallest waterfall in Costa Rica. Now, I really had no idea what I was signing up for. But I do everything by intuition. So I was meant to go on this experience, 600 feet up, Monica. So we started at 400 feet,
wow.
went to 1,000. There was a
Oh, I
couple,
did see that picture. That was
yeah,
amazing.
well, a couple checkpoints along the way,
Yeah.
whatever. It was a very physical experience, but
Yeah, good.
everybody that I went with,
Initiating, I'm sure.
oh my God. And so I went with a friend of mine and her husband and another friend. And then there was other
Mm,
people that were with different guides. And our guide was like, we had a couple checkpoints. They all stayed at one where he's like, I want to take you to the top of the waterfall that you can actually sit on it. And there was another couple and me that went. So just four of us. So we're headed there. And it takes me a while, especially A, we don't have railings, B, we're in steep slopes and we're headed down. And I was like, guys, I'm just going to take my time going down. You guys do your thing if you want to pick it up. And I've been hearing spiders lately. Like I hear them talking to me. I hear them everywhere. Like I just hear them. Like they have a specific language that they speak and I hear it. I literally started hearing a spider and I was like, what is this? And all of a sudden I look over, massive tarantula, like on
oh
this log. Okay. And I just went,
wow.
yo, what's up? Let me just get over here. Right. And I just kept walking. It's a fucking tarantula.
I I could probably hear you from 10 miles, okay?
Oh my God. Like I'm like, dude, I thank you. I am aware that you are here and I appreciate you. Literally, we go
Uh-huh.
down, do our thing at the waterfall, and we're coming back up, and our guide's like, look at this snake. Fucking massive 2 meter long black snake. Now they're not poisonous at all, but I
Wow.
was like, and it's literally like 3 feet from me. And I was like, okay, I see you. I thank you. And literally, when we're about to get back, another snake, exactly the same type, bigger though, longer, was like right blocking the pathway. And my guide says to me, do you want to cross? And I'm like, the snake is up, like ready to like, if anyone comes in front of him, he's like fucking go. And I know he's not poisonous, but
I
still, like
know.
no,
I
I'm good.
know.
I do not need to walk in front of the snake. But how about I give you this stick and you be the guide and you get rid of the snake, right? And
Right?
but that was last week, Monica, like two in one day and a tarantula. And I'm hearing them, like I hear
Mm,
their vibrations and it's
yeah. Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, so then you're are like this spider and snake whisperer. Energy whisper.
Like, and that's not the only thing. Like there's a bunch of other stuff that's happening too, but it's all in this awake, like it's like nature is
Yeah,
finally ready for me to feel and see it in its potency,
yeah. And
knowing I'm
I'm
not going
glad
to
that
harm
you
it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that you talked about that because I feel like nature is also helping us like
Oh, for
go
sure.
through this like ascension and awakening in their own way.
Yeah.
And
Agree.
so you have that, connection for sure with the spiders and with the snakes. So they all carry, their own frequency, vibrational energy and support.
Yeah.
So in that instant, I think they were just like helping you like um with whatever energy needed to come through, for you in that connection with each other. So it's like a two-way exchange of energy of like support, I think. And
Yeah.
what I was
Recognizing
feeling, but
too. Yeah.
recognize
Awareness.
one another, and it's like interesting that you have that, with the snakes and the spiders. With me recently, there's been like a really deep connection with trees and mountains.
Mm,
And it's like these huge mountains when I'm like driving by, it's almost like they call to me and
yeah.
I sense their frequency of energy. It's like I think it's the spirit of the mountain because they all have like their own like spirit, that kind of guards the mountain and stuff.
Yep.
And so they have their own voice. And so it's like, wow, like that mountain is like, I feel like it's speaking to me. And the same thing with trees, when I'm walking the trees, like the trees in Mount Shasta, they seem very alive to me. Like
I
it's
bet.
almost like they remind me of the ants, from that book, The Lord of the Rings,
Yep.
with the hobbits. So they talk about the trees that walk and they, talk. These trees feel just like that. I'm serious. And
I
it was like
believe you.
there was this one tree in particular. I was looking at it. It was like any moment that tree's gonna stand up and walk.
Over. Yeah. And it probably would, like in the world we
And
live
it
in.
probably does at night when nobody's around. Like
Oh man. It's been an interesting experience though, like, through the last couple of years, even just watching like all of us, in this
hmm
collective move like this, like on this streamline
Yeah.
upward, like, and we've come together. So we met through, a very pragmatic experience, but we also aligned with other people that are in the like same type of energy with us in this really vocal way that we could be ourselves, where a lot of us didn't have those outlets, and then we manifested more people and more people, and now like all the people I'm with, like if they think I'm crazy, then they can think I'm crazy, but like I have all these people I just
Well,
talk
they're
this
not your
truth with.
people.
I know.
Like you just know they're not your people,
Yeah. And it's fun how we were brought together in the way that we were, and how much
hmm
we've been able to support each other, even if we don't talk for months, but we're just holding a certain space that we know
Space, yeah.
that we're in this collective of
Exactly.
energy. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And that's how I envision the earth as well, is that we're all having our own little, communities of like these spiritual, like different workers, coming together and merging, these
Mhm.
other communities together and supporting one another in that way.
Yeah.
And because we can't do this all alone. We need to
No.
have each
Yeah.
other to support with the collective and the whole process of the ascension and the awakening. We do our part in whatever way that is, whether that be through acting or just in being, holding the space for others,
Yeah.
whatever way it comes up for you.
Well, and we need support. So that's the one thing too, is some people are like, oh my God, well, I don't have these gifts, or I'm not a medium, or I don't channel, or I don't do energy work.
But
But
they do. They
yeah,
Everybody has the gift though. That's the thing. That's the thing that people need to understand, that everybody has the ability to channel and they are, have all these other abilities as well to tap into your own source connection.
yeah.
And so this is one of the things that I emphasize to all my clients, like, I want you to be independent. Don't depend on me, for
Yes,
like
me too.
answers or anything like that. You have the answers, and this is why, like, I want you to like, really work on your heart and yourself and like whatever it is that's, coming up. And, I'm just like facilitating, helping you, like, so that you become your own master, which is the other point that I was making about the avatars. And that's what I want, for everybody.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I want to ask you one more formal kind of question, and then we'll see where we lead next. But if somebody is right at that brink of owning the power within their voice, and owning this light language and like they feel it and see it, but they have this fear, like both of us broke through, what would you say to them?
Don't give up. Just keep, practicing it and like um recording it for yourself and listening to yourself and just trusting that, that it is real because it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that you practice it, the more confidence that you'll have, with like using it. Um, so trust, you know, and surrender to that process that you have that ability, that you are speaking it and that it is real.
No, and that's perfect. And I love that because I know there's some people in my life that are right there. Like they are like
Hmm.
right at the cusp of like leaning into this and
Hmm.
moving it through.
Hmm.
And I know that you've got a lot of things on the go, and there's different parts of your world that people can reach into to be able to access, your light language transmissions or help assist them in opening up their light language. So why don't you talk a little bit about, where like, and I know people may be listening to this podcast, 6 months down the road, but they can obviously always contact you to see what's going on. But I know you're consistently serving universal alignment in the gifts that have been dropped into your field. So I just love to hear like where can people find you? Like, what do you got going on right now? Where can they lean in?
Yeah, so I mean, they could go to my website. I have a lot of different types of private sessions that I have set up there that anybody could sign up at any time, when they want to set up private session. I don't really have, the only group that I have right now is the New Moon Circle that I have like every month, and every month is a different theme. Like next week, I'm planning to have which I call the Circle of Quantum Conscious Creators
Oh, nice.
and creating in a 5D way. So I am now focusing us as being 5D. So I want to start manifesting in a 5D way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the emphasis of these new moon rituals are. And for next week, we're going to be in a solar eclipse of the new moon. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a very powerful one.
Yeah,
And
welcome. Welcome to
yeah,
foot
so
season.
that's right, exactly. It's another transformational change and shocking, and stuff coming up right now. And so that's my group that I have. So at times, something will drop in and there's a new group program that wants to come through and that gets channeled in a moment. So maybe a whole new series that comes through. And then I'm working with the Cosmic Avatar Academy, which is a big academy about all about light language and working as on it as a modality and getting certified in it, officially and having like an actual mentor with me to really help you navigate through the light language, which I didn't have, when
Yeah, we don't.
when I first started channeling, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it or what was going on with me. So it took me like many years before I even like realized, that I was going to do this as a business.
Yeah,
And so I will save a lot of people a lot of that pain and trouble within like doing it all within a year,
I love
versus
it.
like several years of like 6 to 7 years
Yeah.
for me. And so yeah, definitely a lot of things are moving at quantum. And the website will have, this information about the private sessions. But if anybody's interested in the Cosmic Avatar Academy, they could always email me, which is on my website too, my email address.
And we'll put it all in the show notes as well. So you guys can grab it there. So all the links will be available for you guys to kind of step into that space. And I know the value of what it was me doing some one-to-one sessions with you, and also being in your kundalini program that you had last year that activated me and allowed me to be able to step in and channel more potently, but also own the fact that I could speak light language. And now I use it a lot in a vibrational of chanting and singing, which I'm not a singer at all, but people say like when we're in meditations and I'm channeling specific deities or energies and
Mhm.
they're transmitting through my voice, that they feel the potency of the changes so
Mhm.
much more when I'm singing. Like it doesn't matter that my tonality might be off a bit, because sometimes I re-listen to it, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? But it has nothing to do with that. It's the
Uh, yeah.
frequency of the energy moving through.
And again, just trust whatever is being
Yeah.
channeled in that
Yeah.
moment. So,
And I'm
so it
supported
may not make
and
it,
yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna make sense to the human mind, and
No.
so just go with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense at all. So that's why I don't even re-listen to them either, because I'm like, then I judge myself going, oh my God, but we are, when I'm in that state, I'm connected to the purity of the light moving through in that transmission. And um the power that you hold, Monica.
Mhm.
And I say this, and I know we all have our mission and we all are here for certain reasons, but I just feel blessed almost to be able to know you. And I know that that is kind of like, sometimes you're like, yeah, but I'm just doing my job as a soul. And I'm like, I know, I get that. But it's like, I also feel like this different level of connection that I'm like, I just feel grateful on,
Mm.
and maybe we had a past life together where you were like the like queen, and maybe I was like your servant and you like saved my life or
No,
something. You
you never know, but
know?
like, no, it could be reversed. Maybe, maybe we had like different lifetime. We reversed the roles back and forth.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't know.
sure. I know, like, I have no doubt. You know, like maybe.
I think we all like went through like all these different roles for, the experience of the human and
Huge.
being able to like later on, like now in this lifetime that we decided we're gonna bring all this shit here
Yeah.
together from our past lives and tell people how to like deal with it now, all the stuff that we collected from like these past, lives.
Thank you so much for edifying the podcast I just launched today about like what is this past life. And I literally say like we're taking all the learnings from all these lives now and like literally stepping in and integrating them in real time right now and
Yes,
pulling from them.
yes,
So thank you for
exactly.
confirming.
Yeah. Because in those lifetimes also there's gifts that we also learn,
Huge. Yeah.
like I'm sure like if you were like say a warlock or a witch in
Yeah.
that life, or you had like you were an alchemist, like me, I was all these things, right?
Yeah.
Too. And so you learned about like certain formulas
Mhm.
of like, and some of them use plant medicine, all this stuff. And so when people come into this life and they're like fascinated, they want to like learn about plant medicine, but where is that coming from? Because there is that remembrance in their soul.
Exactly.
And so they come with this natural ability of like knowing, like they pick it up so fast,
Yeah.
they learn this stuff so fast.
Yeah.
Like for me, there was a lot of things in school that I was picking up so fast, like philosophy was one that I picked up so fast. It seems so logical to me
Yeah.
that I would get like 110% on exams. Like
Yeah. History for
it,
me. I was
it
like,
so it's
boom, boom,
like,
boom, boom,
yeah. I was like, must have been a philosopher in a past life, or
boom.
you're probably a historian in a past life, it's a big deal. Like
Oh
so
my
you have
God.
like you bring all these like different types of traits, in this lifetime that you
Yeah.
also learn from. But you're also learning from the other side of the things that we call the mistakes, that we made these bad choices,
Yeah.
supposedly, and it led us to probably our own death. We all died in tragic ways, maybe in these past lives. I was learning through like beginning of this year, my throat chakra started to really get
Mm.
really active. Like all of a sudden, like there was this huge layer that was coming up from like this past life where I had, been tormented
Yeah.
through beheading or like drowning or like whatever. All these things were coming up very
Yeah.
quantum speed. I was like, whoa, I was like, I never experienced this before. I mean, I was experiencing stuff that was coming up in 2022, but it was like in beginning of this year, it was like big.
Yeah.
And I almost couldn't like swallow. It was like extreme.
Yeah.
But what happened was that once that cleared, my vocal cords changed. And
Yeah.
so it activated these other vocal cords. So now it's coming in at a like higher pitch, you know.
So funny. I love it. No, but that's the truth. Like literally we're climbing this mountain last week and I
Hmm.
said to my girlfriend, one of my past lives I died from falling off a cliff. So there was a
Hmm.
point in time where we were at this really steep part and I had floated out of my body and I was like, "Holy fuck. Like I need to ground. Like this is the most important time in my life I need to be grounded because there's nothing holding me on this place and I'm like 1,000 feet up. Like I could fall off at any time. Like you literally could have." And I was like, shit, I need to ground. Because then I was reminded of that life where I fell off the cliff. And I was like, this is not happening again. We've learned the
And you probably
lesson.
saw it. Did you
Oh,
see it
yeah.
visually through your mind? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Yeah.
it's really interesting because I like when I've had like fear of heights and I see when I have fallen and stuff and I can understand why like I had this huge fear here in this lifetime.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's why I asked if you were seeing it visually. It's not just me.
No, it's not just you. And I've
Okay.
transformed a lot of it. So I used to
Hmm.
have a fear of heights. I didn't feel it at all on this mountain. I feel it
Hmm.
mostly when I'm climbing stairs that don't have backing. That's when I feel it the most, which is interesting, right? Like you would think
Yeah,
like above where you look down in this massive view, but
yeah.
it was like pure for me. So it's interesting. But I would love to
Wow.
keep talking to you because I know that you and I could like
Me
joke about
too.
this for like ever and like talk about all
We could
these
probably talk for 2 hours. Like,
random things that aren't random at all. But I want to just pass you the baton. Like what do you want to say to people to leave them with today? Like anything that's dropping in, because I know the potency of your messages. So I just want to pass you the baton.
I think what's so important right now for all of us is that we all hold the fort together. Those who are being called as the light warriors, the light workers, the um way showers, or the ones paving the way, in other
Mhm.
words, the star seeds, however you want to like refer to one another. Um, we all come from source, right? And so that source connection, the spark of energy that we all hold it within ourselves that gets expressed in its own unique way. And that I ask that we all come collectively in this unity consciousness and just really hold that vision and that visual of this new earth, and that we are all in this um harmonious type balanced energy, and that we can get past this whole dismantling that is occurring right now, because the collective needs it. It needs you. It needs each and every one of us, coming together right now to really hold that higher frequency of energy for the planet and for each other, and as well as the universe, because everything that we're doing on this planet impacts the universe as well.
Mhm. It does. It's all those frequencies moving together. And I always keep getting the visual and I so appreciate how you finish that off. Like all of us standing at the edge of a cliff. And it's like we just
Hmm.
keep hacking the back end. And then there's going to be a point where we all go, are you ready? And we go, "Poof," and we all dive together. Right. And it's like this massive movement of energy, but it takes each
Yeah.
person to step forward in that space. And it's all of us together, moving it.
Yes.
So I love and
That's
appreciate that you
perfect.
brought that through. Yeah, so good. Obviously, all your social media will be in the show notes where people can connect to you. I always encourage everybody to share out the episode as well and tag us on Instagram. We want to know your thoughts, what you're feeling. Did you gather something from this? And we're sharing it out into the world too, because we know and understand all of us together in unity creates a force of energy that helps shift in real time, just like Monica said. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to be here today and to serve the energetics today. And, I'm really grateful that we get to be connected too.
I am so grateful and so honored. Thank you so much.
Yay, you're so welcome. And for all of you guys listening, thank you so much for being here. And we will see you guys again on another episode of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast.